Welcome to A Drink of Wisdom with Nathan Drinkard. I'm Jay Wise. Thanks for spending some of your time with us. As a reminder, we're on Anchor, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts. And if you're looking for us in the video format, you can find us on the A Drink of Wisdom YouTube channel. Lots of great things happening at all those locations. Drink, another tremendous Tuesday. What's going on with you?
Hey man, I'm happy to be here on a tremendous Tuesday. That's one of the best days of the week for us. Everything good, man. Everything good. I can't complain, man. What about you?
Same. Just ready to get it going.
All right, let's get it going. Another day, another dollar. We got to give the streets what they need. We see what they don't, say what they want. Set your plates, cause it's time to eat. And last but not least, let's talk some sports, baby. What we got, Jay?
All right, this is episode 14 of season 3. We're going to talk about week 8 in the NFL. We're going to check in on the World Series, and we're going to recap the weekend in college football. But we start with two blockbuster NFL news stories that hit this week. The first would be the trade of all-pro linebacker Von Miller from the Denver Broncos to the Los Angeles Rams. The Broncos get back a second and third round pick from the Rams. Miller on the last year of his contract. He'll join Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, and the rest of that Rams defense as they pursue a Super Bowl title. Meanwhile, in Tennessee, the Titans got horrible news after Sunday's win against the Indianapolis Colts that they have possibly lost running back Derrick Henry for the season due to a foot injury. They have already signed Adrian Peterson as a move to compensate for that loss, but still a huge blow to their team. Drink, for you, what's the bigger news story out of these two stories?
Well, for me, I think the biggest news story, and it ain't even close, to be honest with you, is Derrick Henry. Here's the deal. I understand that Von Miller is, a Hall of Famer, 8-time Pro Bowler, one of the best pass rushers this game has seen. I understand he done dominated the Super Bowl before and all that. Sounds very good. I'm with that, but let's keep it real here. Von Miller is 32. He's been injured a lot lately, and I think Denver understood that, and they understood that they wasn't going to be able to, play him as much as he probably wanted to play, or get the productivity that they wanted out of him, and they just kind of stuck with the young guns on the team, and they traded him away. Now I understand he was emotional. He wanted to be with the Broncos forever. I got that, but this is a business, and in a business you got to do what's best. What's going to make that green lettuce at the end? What's going to get us to the promised land? So they had to do what they had to do. But this, to me, is about Derrick Henry. Here's the deal. Me and you, I think we on the same accord when I say this. We don't believe in Ryan Tannehill. All right? And the only reason Ryan Tannehill got that cash was because that man that's in the backfield. And the only reason the Titans, is perceived as a possibly Super Bowl contender, it's because that man in the backfield. Listen, you can't lose the leading rusher, the back-to-back rushing champ, the all-pro running back. The accolades go on and on and on for Derrick Henry. I'm sorry, I don't think you could replace him with anybody and get the same productivity. If I'm keeping it real, he's the best running back in pro football. Usually, when a guy has that title, you kind of can't replace them. Listen, I don't know how close it is to the number 2 guy or the number 3 guy, but something tells me without even looking it up that it might be a good little, space in between. And the only reason that the second guy is probably close, because there's some games where, teams just went all out to stop him and they didn't play much of the pass because, Ryan Tannehill, we don't really care. We don't think he can beat us. A.J. Brown was flopping around for the first 4 weeks of the season. He just started coming alive. And quite frankly, Julio hasn't lived up to the health bill yet. He's kind of been in and out of the lineup since he's been there. So it's Derrick Henry, I think, by a mile. Listen, Derrick Henry was starting to give running backs hope again. We talk about this all the time. We talk about, the life expectancy of a running back. And as soon as you pay them, they don't perform. And Derrick Henry, he was starting to look like a guy that, hey, he got paid and he's still performing. Now he hurt his foot. I'm not to any fault of himself. injuries is part of the game. But there's no way you look at Tennessee the same way you looked at them before, Derrick Henry. And like I told you before the show, when you play the Tennessee Titans, your first course of action is to stop Derrick Henry. That's what you go with in practice. That's what you prepare for. You stop Derrick Henry. Says no team in the NFL, let's stop Ryan Tannehill first. No team says that. Nobody. I'm sorry. Jacksonville don't say it. The Jets don't say it. No. Let's stop Ryan Tannehill. No. Let's stop Derrick Henry first. Right? Now you don't have that. Adrian Peterson, listen. I got it. Hall of Famer, legend, however you want to put it. That's all sweet and cat. When he get to Canton, Ohio, I want to hear all about that. But as far as what he going to do for the rest of this season for the Tennessee Titans, I don't know. Now, I don't think it's going to be enough. Now, I think teams will say, now let's go and stop, Ryan Tannehill now. Because I don't know if Adrian Peterson really going to do enough to make you say, load the box up. Let's stop AP. Now, I don't want to be disrespectful. The guy's a legend. I got it. But he's replacing Derrick Henry. He's not replacing James Robinson. He's not replacing, Sony Michel. He's replacing Derrick Henry. We have to keep that in mind. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to everything that Adrian Peterson had brought to the game and everything he had done for the game. But you got to be kidding me if you think he still has the skill set to replace the number one running back in today's NFL. You got to be kidding me with that. And, if I'm far off, Jay, I'm pretty sure you're going to let me know about myself. But as far as I'm concerned, well, first of all, when the news first broke that Derrick Henry was going to be gone for the rest of the year, I was like, oh, that's devastating. Now, it seemed like they didn't backtrack a little bit, and they said 6 to 10 weeks, so they possibly could, if they, was to make the playoffs, you get them probably towards the end of the season, go into the playoffs with them. I don't know how effective he would be coming off an injury like that. It is his foot, and he is a tall guy, and he, we know how important your feet could be when you're like that height. Either way, if he comes back in time enough for them to make a playoff run, good for them. But yeah, man, it's definitely the loss of Derrick Henry.
I think in practicality, the loss of Derrick Henry for the Titans is a bigger deal. But as far as which one caught my attention, and as far as which one has more news value, I think the Von Miller trade is just as big a deal, maybe a little bit more so. Maybe I'm a little biased, being a Denver Broncos situation. But listen, let's be honest about this. As much as I love Derrick Henry, and as much as I know, he is that dude with the Tennessee Titans that makes that team go. I think Tennessee, in terms of its postseason potential, even though they're 6-2 now, I still think they're a little bit limited in how far they can go with or without Derrick Henry. So now that you don't have him, I think it's devastating. I think they will miss the playoffs. Even though, I think there's a feeling out there that Adrian Peterson is going to step in and maybe, even at the age of 36, I still think, Adrian Peterson, he got something left in the tank. He's a similar back to Derrick Henry. They're going to be fine. I'm not sure about that. I'm going to have to see something on that first. But the thing about Von Miller going to the Rams is we talked about how the NFC is a top-heavy picture right now. There's 5 teams, or might be, I think it's down to 4 now with Tampa Bay losing. There's 4 one-loss teams, I believe. So this is a move that can, when you look back on the regular season as you head to the postseason, this is a move that can kind of, get a team ahead. When you look at Von Miller coming over to the Rams, you talked about his resume a little bit. He's a unanimous member of the 2010s All-Decade team. Since he came into the league, he's got the most sacks among active players, just ahead of the likes of J.J. Watt and Chandler Jones. You mentioned the All-Pros. I think he's got 9 All-Pro selections, 5 first team, 4 second team. It's just a stunning resume. He has been banged up lately. We know he missed pretty much the entire season last season. He's been a little nicked up with an ankle. But he did have a really nice start to the season. He had 4 sacks in the first 3 games. He's been a little bit more under wraps lately. But I mean, the sad thing about him leaving Denver for me was when Bradley Chubb got drafted, that looked like a match made in heaven. That looked like on paper the best pass rush duo in football. We never really got to see it because 1 year is Bradley Chubb, he's out for the season. The next year is Von Miller out for the season. We never really saw them together. That's a pretty sad story for me. But the great thing about this for Von Miller now is he goes to a defense where he no longer will likely be seeing constant double teams because they have a guy in Aaron Donald who demands double teams and is in the prime of his career and just quite simply is perhaps the most dominant defensive player that we've seen, in the past 10 years or however far you want to go back. Maybe in this century. So I think the prospect of Von Miller and Aaron Donald rushing the quarterback, also with a third guy in Jalen Ramsey, you got 3 bona fide superstars on your defense right now. And I think all offensive lines, all quarterbacks, that the Rams could come up against, they got to be very concerned. And I think this is a move that, looking back on the season when it's all said and done, we can say that is the transaction that put this team ahead and made the biggest of difference. They've already shown that they can beat the Bucs. They did lose to the Cardinals, but I mean, we just saw the Cardinals and their struggles against Green Bay. I think the Rams, from a physicality perspective, I think they're the more physical team. I think they're gonna bounce back and they'll remember that game. And I think at this point, this move makes them the prohibitive favorites, and that's why I think Von Miller to the Rams is the slightly bigger news story for me.